to call it that. But I looked at the first half and I was just quickly texting myself and making notes. I'm sure there's a note app in my phone, which I've never found. I just keep texting myself, but at least I've got someone to talk to. But look, so I'm just going off my scribbled notes. Jump in at any time if you like, Jack. But at one point with the Dragons down 12-0, Cooper Gronk on Fox Sports.
Did you say Cooper Gronk?
Oh, I think it was the CG. It was Cooper Cronk.
We'll let that one slide. We'll let the fans determine what you said there, mate.
I've met Cooper Cronk a couple of times in elevators going up to the second floor of a stadium here and there. Lovely fella, and he's definitely not a Gronk. So
yeah, well, you might be seeing him in court, mate, for a defamation case.
Trust me, mate. He's got more money than me. But he's on Fox Sports, and at the time, quite rightly, he called out the Dragons' attack for being clunky.
Yeah,
there wasn't much doing, and it looked like the same old Dragons. But not being too positive, Jack. But I did see some little gems in here that I think the Dragons can look at that when and I'm sure they've already reviewed the game, but can look at these things and say, this is the way we open up the other side of the field in the same play. There was a play there where the Dragons got a quick play the ball, and Little shoots out from dummy half. Leaves the markers behind, steps out and drops Murdoch Masila back on the against the grain. He offloads in traffic, and without even thinking, the Dragons release the ball back to the right on the same play and actually opens up play on the right-hand side of the field. I think Sully's on that side now, and that creates a real chance for the Dragons. So what the Dragons need to realise is just a play like that. An inside ball on a quick play of the ball on the other side of the field can set up space and time for the guys on the other side of the field if you're good enough and quick enough to get it there. I thought that was great. Very, very shortly after that, there was a long shift to the left. Hunt, I think there was 3 decoys. I haven't seen that from the Dragons for a while. He tipped outside to Lomax. He had space. Fine grounds it in the corner, but it's a forward pass. That's great, though. That passage of play, you want to bottle that for the Dragons. And then to me, there was something. Sloan was horrible in the first half, and he didn't get much help in the sense that it never looked like the Dragons made him the center of their attack. They never looked like they were trying to include him in the game.
Yeah.
For a young guy, they were never setting up quick play the balls for quick tip-ons through the middle. But for me, I think Sloan had already dropped one ball. Before that, I'll go back. There was one more point about the attack, and this I thought was really good. So Sloan got smashed on his own try line, and I think he played the ball a couple of metres from his own line, and I thought, here we go. The Dragons will roll over here. We've seen it all before. Instead, they rolled their sleeves up, and they went 110 metres in the set and almost scored a try. But they get the next best thing, and they earn a dropout. I think it was just on the water bell. The wingers came in, rolled their sleeves up. Musgrove had a big run down the guts. And instead of a midfield bomb, which I was kind of expecting with Ben Hunt on the right, they run it on the last. They break a big break down the right-hand side, and they almost score. I thought that was awesome.
That was a good passage to play. Thought Sewer showed some real class there, getting him early ball.
The problem was some under-7 stuff in defence in between that. The Latrell Mitchell score try from the scrum. That was disgusting.
What was the go there? Because Sloan, I watched the replay again today, and Sloan, even though it was a scrum, why was he packing down at lock? Surely he should have been on the line.
Well, if he's at lock, then that means you've got a forward in your defensive line, and then you don't have a sweeping fullback. So it makes no sense at all. The fourth try, I think, to Jai Arrow. I mean, what was Frank Molo doing? He shot out of the line, and he was trying to tackle Ghosts. He just shot out, and he overcommits. He takes nobody, and it was almost like, to me, that looked like a bloke that kind of just didn't want to be part of the play, and he took himself out of the play. I'm not saying he did on purpose, but it was a brain explosion. But for me, and again, this is me trying to find good things in the first half, Jack. Sloan made 2 mistakes from bombs. The second one, he locked back down at the back of the scrum again. And this is when South, on that play from the scrum, they go really quickly left, and Cody Walker throws a bullet with Dragons players on him, and the ball goes out to Johnston unmarked, and I thought, here we go, he's going to score for sure. But Rubberlau was there, but the guy that helps Ravalawa make the tackle is Sloan from the other side of the field, from the back of from lock. I thought that was a big bounce back from Sloan, and I actually wrote after his second bomb mistake, which was just before that. I said, how does Sloan bounce back from this? He needs to do something. And if you watch the replay and you go back and look at it, they bundle Johnson over the sideline, and it's Sloan who sprints, and he does not stop. And he doesn't know that that Johnson's going to be unmarked, but he starts going and he motors and he gets there, and that's off 2 mistakes. So I thought Sloan showed an urgency to get there, and I thought that was great. But look, 30-0 down, former Dragon Wendell Saylor on Triple M. I was watching and listening. I was flicking through the different stations as well, and he just said I think his quote was, they don't look like they're working together.
No.
And they weren't. So I did not watch the second half because I don't think from an analysis point of view it was worth watching.
No.
They needed to be good against the Rabbitohs, against their top team, because I know the Dragons can play footy. There's footy in them. But I don't want to see them do it in the second half against the second string South side. I want to see them do it against the good South side.
The responsibility of the coach is to get you up and get you ready for a match, whether that's a preseason match, whether it's round 15, whether it's a grand final. And you could tell really from the opening whistle that the Dragons, they just didn't have their head in the game. I've written here, dreadful first half performance. They were simply never in it. Extremely poor defense, bad defensive reads, lack of energy and determination. South were just in another league. And that's exactly what it was like. And it's the same issues that plagued them last year. Slow around the ruck. When we weren't conceding line breaks or conceding tries through that middle third of the field, we were conceding kind of 10, 12, 15 metres from Damien Cook. And I get that he's a quality hooker, but you're going to be facing quality hookers week in and week out in the NRL. I thought this would have been a real litmus test for them to stand up and fight. And I think we said it on the podcast last week, not necessarily win, but show some fight. Stick with South for 50 or 60 minutes or the first 20 or 30 minutes. But as it stood, it was 26-0 at halftime. It was 32-0 5 minutes into the second half. They just didn't come out of the sheds primed. I've written down here, first try, sloppy ruck defence, Laurie and Musgrove, poor reads. Second try, poor reads by Mbai and Sully. Sully rushes in and puts all sorts of pressure on his outside men, leaves a 4-on-2 overlap. They score there. And then, of course, there was that Sloan error where he probably didn't need to jump in the air, spilt it. And then from the preceding scrum feed, Latrell Mitchell just easily breezed through some pretty tight defending. And as far as I was concerned, at 18-0, Kurt, it was as good as gone. They scored another try. They got a penalty goal and they got another converted try early in the second half. So they couldn't even steal themselves in the early period of the second half to stop Davey Moale, who's probably not even in South's best 17. He's probably not much more than a depth player that might get some opportunities if injuries and suspensions arise. He crashed over those crash plays so short to the line that the defense wasn't able to hold up. So it's so bitterly disappointing to see that. It's one thing to lose to South in the Charity Shield and classified as a trial. It's another thing to get blown off the park, and that's what it was. There just wasn't, unfortunately, the commitment wasn't there. The class is not there, and you look at that side, Kurt, and you may disagree with me, but you look through that starting 13 or that 17 that will trot out inevitably in round 2 at Cogra on Sunday night against the Titans, and it's just not first grade quality. I'm sorry, it's not. There's some players in there that are classy. I think Ravalawa is a decent battering ram on the wing and a good finisher. Matt Finney is a superb winger. I think he's only going to get better the more games he plays. And then you've obviously got the likes of Lomax and Hunt. But you look into that forward pack, there's no one there that I'm, apart from perhaps Jaden Sewer, that if I'm an opposition side, that I'm worried about being intimidated by. I think Jaden Sewer's probably the lone man. Maybe kind of throw in when DeBellin and Bird come in. I wouldn't say they're intimidating forces, but I think they might add a little bit to that Dragons pack. But I still think that they're going to be left wanting in a lot of games this season.
Yeah, agreed. And I think that for the Dragons, consistency is going to be the big thing, because if you beat yourself on any given Sunday or whatever day you're playing in the NRL, if you're not there, you're going to get beaten. So I thought last week against St. Helens, I was really impressed by their intensity and the impetus. It was almost, you could almost see that they were consciously trying to intimidate St. Helens and go with their forwards. And I think there were passages in that game against South, even at 12-0